I like it on my right side. Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back to Freedom Wanderer. My name is Chuck McDonald. I'm so happy you are here with me today. So, as you can tell by our headline, we're going to do a little talking about solo diving. Now, all of you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, I got certified as self-reliant through PADI, the diving organization, as a self-reliant or solo diver. Now, each agency has their own terminology. Everybody, paints with different shades of red, but it all means the same thing. Solo diving, diving by yourself, self-reliant, being able to go by yourself, do it in a safe way, and do what all divers want to do, enjoy the dive, and come home, right? Diving in itself, you're breathing in the water. While you're in the water, you're breathing. So it has its dangers, but so does driving down the street anymore, right? Okay, so anyway, don't want to be negative, but solo diving is the one thing they tell you don't do. Never go diving by yourself, right? Which is true, unless you've been trained to do so. Just don't go cave diving unless you've been trained. Don't penetrate shipwrecks unless you've been trained. Don't do deep dives unless you've been trained. So there's a training level that comes in with all of it, and solo diving is no different. So I'm not going to teach a class today on solo diving. I just want to share with you my experience with solo diving and how I prepare and how I set up my rig to go solo diving. So let's get into it. Okay, so there are a few options and a few ways, like anything else, of which you can attack or proceed or set yourself up to go solo diving. Many people do back-mounted pony tanks. Okay, now you can see on my little picture here, see how the tank is on the back of the scuba diver? That's called back mount, okay? If your tanks are on your side, they're called side mount, okay? Most of your recreational divers are back mounted. When you get your open water certification, you're usually doing it back mounted. When you get your advanced open water certification, you're usually just a normal back mounted diver, right? Which means your BC has a mount on the back and your tank sits on your back, and that's how you scuba dive. Your regulator and octopus come out one side, your gauge and BC hookup comes out the other side, and that's your normal setup. Now, when it comes to solo diving or reliant, self-reliant, you have emergency air. So basically what this is a 19 cubic inch, what some people would call a pony bottle. It's a smaller bottle, but it is just for emergency. So if I'm scuba diving as normal with just a tank and I have a buddy with me, if something happens, my buddy is there. If something happens to my buddy, I'm there. That's why we have what's called an octopus, which is another air source for another diver in case of emergency. Well, when you're alone, you don't have that. This is my spare diver. This is just for emergency cases only. Again, I'm not trying to teach solo diving, but this, for my air consumption and the rates at which I breathe air, this is perfect for me, okay? So I went out and I purchased me a 19 cubic inch tank. I got the straps for it. This is the mounting straps. This is how I will mount it to my BC. Now, before I get into that, I'm getting ahead of myself. So there's two ways of doing this. I can mount this tank onto my tank in the back and get some extra long regulator and gauge. And most people put it right here. That's why I make that motion, and have it ready to go. If something happens to my system, I can grab air, I can get to the surface, I can go home, right? Or you can do what this is set up to do, which is a side mount. So this clips to my BC, and so my tank, the whole time I'm in the water, rides right here. Okay, now, those are the two ways you can do it. For me personally, when I first looked into solo diving, I was like, man, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to get me a tank. I'm going to mount it on the back. I'll run everything like I want it, and I'll go scuba diving. And that is perfectly great way to go. But as my instructor had a setup like this, so I used a setup like this for my training. And I started noticing something. Everything on this tank, when I'm solo diving, is in my control. It's right here. I have a short gauge, which I'll show you. So this goes on it, right? This is my spare regulator, which will sit inside the straps. It has a gauge. I can read the air constantly. It's right here. It's in my control. I can cut it on and off. I can leave it off until I need it and then cut it on. A lot of people freak out and say, oh my God, you're going to die. No, trust me. If my regulator, my normal regulator quits working, I have enough time to cut this on and get air. You really do. So that's what you learn in self-sufficient, self-reliant solo scuba diving. So I have my air pressure gauge, I have my regulator, and all of that stays right here, neatly tucked away, I promise, neatly tucked away and put together, right? So for me personally, listen, diving is just like any other recreation or hobby. Everybody does it different. Everybody has different tastes, different personalities, different needs, different wants. So I'm not here to sell you on how to set it up. I'm here to tell you why I like it a personal way. I like the fact that my tank will be right here at all times in my control as I'm diving. And when we're diving, we're neutrally buoyant, so this weight is not like pulling on me. Or, you know, it's there. It kind of moves a little bit, but it's right where I can get to it. I can cut it on. I can grab my air real quick, and I'm okay. So for me personally, when it comes to solo diving, I like a side-mounted tank. Now listen, on my right side. So for me personally, I like my tank on my right side. You can also wear it on your left side. For me personally, I like it here because the only thing that's over here is my octopus, right? An octopus is a spare air source in case something happens in an emergency for another diver. So I can neatly tuck that away, have it where if a diver needs anything, they can get air, no problem. Even if I was diving with somebody else, I would still wear this tank in case of an emergency. Now I'm getting so used to having it on me. Like to dive without my tank is becoming just like I can't even think about it. So anyway, over here is my gauge to my normal setup and also the control to put air in and out of my BC. So I constantly check those things. Right, I constantly check my gauge on a regular basis to see what my air consumption is, to make sure I'm not breathing too much air, and to maybe inflate or deflate, because as you dive, you know, you work that a little bit. Or when I go underwater, I like to be able to pull that up and then start sinking. I work this side, so I really like, nothing really happens over here. So I like it sitting right there. On my right side, side mounted. It's perfect for me. Now, if you disagree with me, that's great. I would love to hear your opinions on. When I first saw the back mount, I thought that was amazing. I was just like, yes, they're both on, you know, as I walk, whatever. And I'm sure they both work perfectly. If somebody made me wear it that way, I'd figure it out because I really love having the spare air on me now. So anyway, that's my spiel on the solo diving gear and setup. And so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you keep hanging out with me. For you guys who follow me consistently, December 1st through 3rd, I'm going to be doing a lot of scuba diving in Williston, Florida, which is the northern part of Florida. It's a cavern called Devil's Den. There's another cavern down the street called the Blue Grotto. And then there's a river. There's a couple of rivers in the area, but the one we're going to is called Rainbow River. And I'm going to be getting tons of underwater footage, tons of video of scuba diving and showing the underwater world to all you guys, especially cavern diving, which is fun. I haven't done it in a while. I'm an ocean guy, sorry. It'll be so much fun, and look forward to taking you guys on the adventure. So please, 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 if you haven't already, please just like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe helps out so much, and share. If you know other scuba divers, people who are into scuba diving, share. I love watching all people's videos about scuba diving. Just get information and see how they do things, right? Okay, so anyway, that's it. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next adventure. See you later.